Oh shit! What's up, YouTube? Welcome back, channel. Hope you're having a wicked day. In this video, we're doing another interview, but this time it's with my mate Kai Shah. What's up, Kai?
Hello,
How
back
you doing?
again for a different video.
Yeah, it's been a while, actually, hasn't it?
Indeed.
Alright, man. So we're going to do an interview. Like last time, we've got some questions that we both agreed on. So I think instead of messing about, let's get straight into it. And for question number one, we got, well, first of all, introduce yourself. Who are you? And how did you get into powerchair football?
Alright, well, my name's Kai. I'm the manager of GBG Knights currently, and my OT, occupational therapist, for those who don't know what that is, told me about Persia football, and that's where I started. And I was 8 years old, I think.
That's really interesting. Your OT, how did they know about it? That's interesting. Do you know?
Mate, I was 8. I don't remember that far back. But I
It's
think they
fair
had
enough.
another client that played it or something.
Yeah, she probably knew somebody else that was playing it. That's
Yeah,
interesting. Wow, that's really good, man. And yes, credit to your OT because she changed your life, innit? Or he changed your
indeed.
life. All right,
Don't know what
wicked.
my life would be like without football. It's weird.
Yeah, football is everything to us, innit? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Right, so, what is it about powerchair football that keeps you coming back? And if you could change one thing about the sport, what would it be?
I mean, the enjoyment of, in air quotes, being able to kick a football is always something that we always enjoy. I love football itself, so being able to play is great. One thing I would change, well, the travel times. It's mental.
Yeah, I can imagine because obviously, if you don't know, Kai plays for GBG Knights all the way up in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire. So, how long's that travel for you, man?
It's a 2.5 hour drive.
And do you train? Is it every week, every other week,
We
once a
try to
month?
train twice a week, twice a month.
Okay, so you're doing quite a lot of traveling as well.
Yeah, and then on
And
top of that, we've got the fixtures. So basically, every weekend I'm somewhere.
and then obviously you got the regional league. Where's that?
Regional league is in Birmingham,
Okay, so that's not too what 2 hour driving it
about
roughly.
an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's not
It's not
too
too
bad,
bad.
is it?
No, that's not too bad.
Okay, and you say you like kicking the football. What is it about? Is it just it gives you something to do each week, something to focus on? What is it about it?
I don't know. I've always loved sports and being able to play at that competitive level that we can play at. It's just fun.
I suppose this is what the sport's all about. It gives people like us a platform to experience football. Because obviously, without this, we can't play in it at all.
Indeed. And the social aspect of it as well is really good.
Social aspect, yeah. It's really important. That's really good. All right, we're gonna move on then. The game has changed so much from when you started. What would you say are the biggest changes that you've experienced in the sport so far?
Well, when I started, we were all in storms with the little striker bumper or
Yeah,
the foam thing. Uh, Now we're all in strike forces. It's a lot different. It's a lot quicker. I think I got the perfect timing of somewhat learning the old style of football, but learning the parts that carried over into the new way of playing, as us, well, you oldies would say. Um,
yeah.
where I still know how to beat someone in the dribble, but I also know how to turn those dribbles into passes rather than just continue on dribbling.
Yeah, so when you say old style or new style, do you want to sort of explain what
So
the differences are?
the old style would be the ball. You just drive with the ball and you just dribble it, dribble it, dribble it,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and dribble it in the net. Basically, there would be no passing. Um, a lot of the time, it would be getting out of the way of the person that's dribbling. Nowadays, it's the person that's dribbling towards you is the one in the wrong. If they haven't told you to get out of the way, or they should be letting the ball run to you to continue on playing. So it's a lot more different.
Yeah, so it was a lot more of a physical dribbling
Yeah.
style of football. Now it's more technical passing. And would you say the game's evolved for the better or for the worse? Do you enjoy this or?
I would say the game's evolved for the better. I enjoy it.
And you say back then we were in the storms, and now we're in a strike force. Trying to explain what the difference is if some people don't know. Because
Well,
a
the
lot of players
Storms.
now, they never
Yeah,
played Storm. They don't
yeah,
know
that
what that
is.
is. Yeah.
The Storms are a lot like a day chair. They're a lot higher up. They tipped over quite a lot. I don't think me or you ever tipped, but we know a lot of people that did. And
Nah, luckily we never tipped, so that's
no,
good.
we never did.
Yeah.
And the strike forces, well, we've all seen them now. They're a lot lower to the ground. They're a lot more aerodynamic, I believe, was the way we were told when they came into play. And it just gives you the ability to play quicker and better football.
Yeah, I think a lot of players struggled when it first came. I was one of them. When these new chairs came in, it was such a shock to my system that I didn't quite understand how this was going to work. Like, I remember first training session when I got in it, I hated it. What were your thoughts when you first tried it?
I'll be honest, I was like 13.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago, but I remember trying out Jordan Williams' chair before I bought my own.
Okay.
And I remember really enjoying it on how much quicker it spun.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
And like the power you could get on the ball. And then
me is the opposite.
obviously, and then I bought the chair, and then haven't really looked back. I think for a while I did think that my Storm was better because I was used to it, but change is good, so I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, change is good. It has changed the game completely, even from just watching it as well. Just opens the game up, more enjoyable to watch and play. I think anyway.
And I remember me and you ordered our chairs at the same time.
Yeah, literally.
We were on the same order batch, and I was a little delayed.
It was a long time. I think we waited another 2-3 months for it, or
Yeah,
something like that. It's just
But
crazy, but we got it in the
we
end.
saw it already, the impact it had when obviously other people in our team had the chairs, and they were able to do stuff that we weren't.
Yeah, I remember that first weekend when everybody else had their chairs and we didn't. Me and you were just on the bench. I don't know
They're
if you
just
remember
sitting there
that.
on the bench,
We
did
just
nothing.
literally we didn't play.
Yeah.
And I remember one of our players had a penalty and he missed it. And I was on the bench thinking, how did he miss that? Because back then I used to be the penalty taker for the team. So I watched that thinking, mate, just because I'm in a bad chair doesn't mean you shouldn't play. But we got our chairs in the end and sorted it all out.
The fact you remember that game is impressive.
Yeah, I do.
All I remember was sitting on the bench. That was it.
Yeah, at least you remember that. So that's
Yeah.
good. All right, then. So just give us a quick summary of your career so far. Who have you played for? And then we'll go into more detail later on.
So I spent about 7 years at Evergreen, and then I spent, give or take a year, 4 years at Seven Oaks, and then the rest at GBG.
Okay, so what, three teams?
3 teams, yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, nowadays players moving like every year.
Yeah, there's a lot of
that
movement.
last transfer window, I think there was like 17 transfers.
No, they said on commentary it was 21 transfers.
21
just in the Prem.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah,
It's just going up and up.
it's more that there's only 12 teams in the Prem and there's 21 transfers.
All right, so you say you played for Evergreen for, was it 7 years, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so then you moved to Seven Oaks.
Yes.
So do you want to explain why you moved and what happened with that?
So when I was at Evergreen, we were in the Prem, I believe. We got relegated. There was always the running joke of me being the reason we got relegated. You remember this joke, Dylan?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Basically, you give me an open net. Everyone that knows me knows I'm very bad at scoring open nets.
So
give me a harder shot, it might go in, but an open net, oh no.
Yeah, so for context, this was the running joke that Kyle's just bad at scoring goals. That was what we used to think. And some people blamed him for it, which I don't think was right at the time. Obviously, it's a team game. If Kai's not scoring, somebody else should. And as I was saying before we recorded, that's a bit of a coaching error that is as well. Because if a player can't seem to score goals, don't put him in the position to score goals. He shouldn't be your main goal scorer. So I think that was a bit harsh. But yeah, what are your feelings about that? people blaming you for that?
I think because it was that first time I got told it was my fault was the game we lost that got us relegated. I think internally that broke me a bit, but like I've never been one to really care about them type of things. People always say stuff that they don't mean or whatever, especially after a game. Like you get quite your adrenaline's still going, you're quite worked up.
You got high emotions at that moment
Yeah, exactly.
because obviously something's happened you don't want to happen, and then people
And
look for something to blame.
I think you'll agree with me. Everyone in our team was significantly older than me.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like I think the biggest age gap was like at least 15 years.
It was something like that. I think you're the youngest.
I was the youngest by a lot. I think
but
you were
yeah,
the second oldest, and you're 9 years older than me.
yeah. So that says a lot.
Yeah. Oh
Can
no.
you remember the
7 years
squad? I
older than me.
can't even remember.
So the squad was Ross Robinson,
Yeah,
Rickon,
yeah,
Mike.
yeah.
Mike left middle of that season though.
So Mike Coleman, Rick and Shah.
Yeah.
Which
You.
they're both still playing. Me, obviously retired now.
And I believe Corey was still around.
Okay, so
I don't
Ross
think he played
Robinson's
much.
retired. Corey has retired as well. So that means there's only you, Rickon, and Mike that are still playing
Yes.
from the team.
Yes.
Which there you go, shows you how old the team is. Half of it is gone.
And then there might have been another in there. I apologise to my former teammates if I've missed you out. And then Seven Oaks was a good team that I wanted to play for because it was a young team. They're all similar ages to me. They were playing the new type of football, and I wanted to learn that and continue to develop as a player.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, it's a bit of footballing reasons, people blaming you. It's probably not the best environment to play if you feel like people just blaming you for everything, innit?
Yeah.
So that's probably why. All right, so then obviously you moved there, and then they were in the Premiership, right?
Yes. So as we got relegated, Seven Oaks got promoted.
Right. So then obviously that was your first season in the Premier League. What was that like?
That wasn't my first season in the Prem.
Was it not? Oh yeah, of course, because we were there before.
We were there
Okay,
for at least
right,
like 4
right.
years.
Yes,
But
you had
this
to
was
work
when the
with you.
Prem back then probably wouldn't even keep up with the champs now. I don't think.
All right, so let's put it this way: when we were in the Premier League with Evergreen compared to Seven Oaks, what was the difference between the league? Did it change, or do you think it was the same?
I think once I'd gone to Seven Oaks and obviously started playing the Prem then with them, everybody had a strike force.
Yeah.
And everybody started to play passing football. So you started to see that gap like we see now between the top half and the bottom half. But back then the table was split into three, where you'd have your middle table teams like Villa, and then your top of the table with the Aspires and all that. Northern Thunder back then.
Yeah, no wonder. And nowadays, obviously, the Premier League this season is what 6 teams could potentially
Could win the
win the
title.
league,
Insane.
which is completely mad, but that's amazing.
Yeah. And then you've got the bottom. Well, I can't say the bottom 6 because I don't think not all of them have played bad enough to go down, but like the second 6, we would call them.
I mean, it's so competitive that you just can't tell.
Yeah.
Like literally, you say it's top 6, bottom 6. It's literally like that. Like we just
I'll
don't.
ask you a question, Mr. Interviewer. Who do you think's going to win the league in the Prem?
I think it's probably gonna be. I don't know actually. I want to see someone different. I would love to see Teesside win it, but I just don't think they will. I think in the end, it's probably going to go to. I think to West Bromwich Albion. I think.
Interesting.
I think they probably win it. Aspire are going to run them close. Obviously, if you're an Aspire player watching, I'm not saying you guys are up there as well. It's so tight.
He's saying you won't win. He's saying you won't win.
Yeah, you ain't going to win. I don't think you will. I think West Bromwich Albion going to win it.
Yeah.
But let's see if I'm wrong. I'm wrong in it. Let's see what happens with that.
I'm still got Newcastle to win the league.
Newcastle. I see. I would love to see that. I just don't think they've got the championship ability. Like nobody in that team's won anything, have they? Or have they? I might be wrong, but I'm not sure.
I might
We'll
be
find
wrong, but
out.
I believe Sam Smith won the Euros.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But as in terms of leagues, it's a
No,
bit
the only two
quiet.
teams with league winners is
That's,
Leeds, Teesside, West Brom, and Aspire, I believe.
yeah, which is why I probably put them ahead. Like even the weekend we saw my last video, we did West Brom Dragon versus Teesside. West Brom didn't play great, and they still somehow won the game. So that
That
just
is
shows
true.
me that champions are champions, isn't it? Just
Yeah,
that
that is.
experience of winning is hard to get. But yeah. So then here we were saying during COVID, obviously we were not allowed to play for obvious reasons. Did not playing affect your mentality or anything? And how did you deal with this?
Oh, I mean, COVID feels like a lifetime ago now, but
Yeah.
I think that was the one thing I did miss was playing football. But I was lucky enough to have a big enough driveway where I could still jump in my chair and still hit a ball around. Um,
So
but
would you say is that one of the reasons that help you like not playing and get over it? Obviously, because you could still play in your driveway.
yeah, and I think it made me a lot more sharper when we came back than obviously I would have thought I would have been.
Yeah, because obviously it was a long time that we were off, and obviously coming back, we saw the standard of the league wasn't great because obviously everybody's rusty. So
No,
to
yeah,
be
coming back from
able,
COVID was. I
that's,
think the standard of the Prem actually improved.
oh really? Okay,
Yeah,
interesting,
I think the standard before COVID was a lot lower than afterwards.
interesting.
I
Why do
think
you think
everyone
that is?
realized how much they missed it and how much work they were willing to put in to be the best.
Yeah, I see that determination's come back, and it's been
Yeah.
away for so long to be able to play again. Yeah, maybe interesting. I didn't think about that. All right, then. So then after Sevenoaks, you said you joined Nomad Knights or GBG Knights as they're called now. How did that happen? And how did you become the player manager? That's pretty insane.
All right, I'll take you from when I left Seven Oaks first. Obviously,
All right, yeah, yeah.
it was more. I wasn't. I think after COVID as well, the want to play was higher than the need to be at the place I enjoyed being at with all my friends there. I needed to play. So then I probably could have gone to another team, but I chose to go to Nomad Knights back then. Started to play in the middle, which was a completely new thing for me. I've quite enjoyed it since. What was the second part of that question?
And as how did you become player manager? That's pretty incredible.
Well, the plan was never for me to become player manager of Knights. It was for me to be the Saracens coach. As when Saracens was created about a year ago, I got approached by Mr. Brian Dix to use my coaching badges for good use and coach them. And I took a while to decide because coaching for me was never something I was interested in. I always just wanted to play. And then I think I spoke to a few people. I spoke to you, I think, as well.
Obviously, for context, I was already at this team. And obviously, Kai and obviously me, we've played for Evergreen. He knows me quite well. He spoke to me quite about it. And obviously, at the time, I thought it was a great place to play. And obviously, things happened. I'm not sure if we'll get into it. We'll see. But there are some toxic things that happened that made things fall apart, basically. And I know the insides, obviously, is how you became player manager, but just for people who don't know. So, yeah, so going back to Seven, so you're saying you left there because of playing time, yeah?
Yeah, nothing else, just playing time.
Just playing time, yeah. So that happens quite a lot nowadays. Players don't play, so then they move. So what was playing in the middle like? Because obviously you were a winger before, right?
I've always been on the wing. I think I had one season in goal for Evergreen, and I had 6 months in goal at Seven Oaks just before COVID. But then, obviously, I've always been a winger. I've always enjoyed playing on the wing. Going into the middle was strange because it was the amount I had to learn in the short time I had to do it. was quite a lot, but I quite enjoyed that challenge. And I think you'll remember, like, my first game in the middle was decent, but the level it is now is a lot better.
Yeah, obviously back then, I think they just lost. I think Amy Lee Julian, I believe she was the middle player before, so they were missing a middle player. Troy played there, I remember, for a bit. That was the season. That was the season I wasn't able to play in because I had medical issues. So I remember there was no middle player pretty much. So you were actually a step up from what I remember, but obviously from your own standards, it wasn't as good as you want it to be.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know, what do you think is the main difference between playing on the wing and in the middle? What's the biggest thing?
I think on the wing you have a lot more time and space, and you don't have to worry about if you miss the ball, what are the consequences of it. Whereas in the middle, you've got to be on it 24/7.
Yeah, you can't make any mistakes.
Like, you are attacking and defending, whereas sometimes when you're on the wing, your sole job is to attack.
Would you say after playing in the middle, did that make you more tired? Because there's a lot more things going on.
Yeah, it definitely pushed my endurance in the game. I think luckily because I'd already had my 5-game weekends at Sevenoaks.
Yeah.
I think because I was on the bench quite a lot, that want to prove that I could play the full 40 every single game to the level that I
Yeah.
knew I could play to was enough to keep me going. But yeah,
Yeah, so you had that drive to prove the haters wrong
yeah,
and to show Seven Oaks, look, man, you didn't play me. Yeah, this is what I can do.
yeah,
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so overall, it's a good move then, I'd say.
yeah. It's worked out quite well.
Obviously, it didn't start out as we would have wanted. Obviously, the coach at the time was Brad Bates, and he was relieved of his duties.
Yep.
Now, I'm not quite going to go into details as to why, but it just went toxic. Let's just say that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think we just leave it there. All right, so obviously, the season where you won the championship, and obviously you went into the Premier League. So, what was it like winning the championship, and is that your best achievement so far?
I don't think, me personally, I don't feel like that's my best achievement. I think me coaching and teaching the next generation of what we know and how passing on that knowledge is more of an achievement for me than actually winning anything.
So you'd say teaching others is more important for you than winning that championship. It's more of an achievement, would you say?
Yeah.
And why would you say, what is it about teaching the young generation that gives you that achievement? Like what is it about that?
I think just seeing them pick up only the new style of football. It's not even new anymore. It's the only style of football teams play now. And just
Yeah.
pushing that development to the level of where they should be. We've had a lot of players that haven't been pushed as much as they should have. So getting them to get into gear has worked really well. And I think our results at nights have proved that so far.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'd say, obviously, back then it was a different game. Like, obviously, now teaching the players, the young ones, how to move the ball, stuff like that. Me and you never had that.
Mm.
We were just taught to go out there and kick the ball. Like, that was basically it. At Evergreen, anyway, it was quite basic in terms of tactics because it was still new at that point. Nobody knew what they were doing. It's just for a laugh, innit? A bit of fun.
Yeah,
But
it
now
was.
it's so technical now. I think having players like yourself and others trying to teach the young generations what moves the game forward. So I think it's a big responsibility that you've taken. So
Yeah, it was a massive jump,
yeah,
but
good job.
it's all worth it.
But obviously, what was it like winning that trophy? Though it must have been
It
buzzing.
did feel good, but I think as the word we used, toxic, started to come into play around then as well.
Yeah.
So it didn't, for me personally, it didn't feel as good as it should have.
Yeah, because it's a bit that toxicity probably just ruined the moment. Probably.
Yeah.
I'd say, which is kind of a shame because that's not what it's about. But obviously, it is what it is. You can't change that, and you won a trophy there. I mean, there's not a lot of players that can say they won something, and especially the championship. It's quite a
And
big
it was
achievement.
nice to see our hard work pay off as well.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, especially you moving around like that, all the distance, all that effort you've put in. It's nice to see that it worked out in the end.
Yeah.
Nice one. And what would be your dream achievement? And have you thought about retiring? Because I know we've spoken about this a little bit, and I think people would be a bit shocked. But yeah, let's get into that, man.
Alright, well, my dream achievement, as it's a dream, is gotta be like going to the Champions League at some point.
So would that be just playing Champions League, winning, or just being there?
I think I've got to play in it. I want to
Yeah.
experience that kind of level of competition at some point. I know I'm not there yet, so continuing to push myself as well is
So,
what we're getting at.
so for those who don't know, what is the Champions League? Who plays in it? Because obviously, if you want to play, you have to be part of the
The
select few
Champions
teams.
League is the best teams in Europe, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. So which teams in England play there?
So it's the winner of the Prem and the winner of the Cup, I believe.
So usually it's West Brom or Aspire.
Usually it's West Brom and Aspire.
So it means you'd have to play for one of those teams. Now, fortunately for you, one of those teams is actually near to your house in
You say I
Aspire.
play for one of those teams, right?
Yeah,
But what if our team gets there?
don't know. That's the thing. Obviously, there's one near you in Aspire. Would you ever?
Yeah, there
go
is
for it?
one. There is one 20 minutes down the road from me,
So
but
obviously, is that something you would consider?
potentially, but not yet.
Okay, so you still
Nowhere
got
near
time.
yet.
All right. So speaking of that, talking about retirement, it doesn't sound like that's anywhere near it. But we did speak about it. So do you want to talk a little bit about what that's all about? Why did we speak about that?
Why did we speak about that?
I don't know if you remember, we were speaking about retiring. I was telling you I was going to retire, and you're like, I'm not feeling it anymore.
Yeah, I think it was the enjoyment for playing had left. For multiple reasons, which I won't get into. But
I'm going to ask you, bro, what are those reasons?
I think a lot of it was I was burnt out because of how much we were playing. I think the season we won the champs, we were in two. No, the season we were in the Prem, we were in two regionals. We had training at least twice a month. We were having group calls every week. And it was just a lot of football. And I was also working on top of that as well, which just burnt me out a bit.
So would you say that it started to turn into a job instead of a fun activity?
Yes, I would say that, yeah.
So would you say that obviously doing that much is too much for anybody to do with? And obviously that would cause burnout, innit? Because it's just too much.
Yeah, and I think for the sake of, obviously, we're not getting paid to do this. We're doing it
No.
out of enjoyment. So I think the second that goes, it turns even more taxing.
Yeah, I can imagine, because obviously people forget the travel you're doing as well is quite a lot. Obviously, it's tiring just sitting in the
And I
car
was
all
getting
day.
ill quite a lot as well, I remember.
And do you think that's because you're just getting tired?
I think that was a multitude of things. I had long COVID as well. That didn't help. But
So,
also,
did you have any symptoms? Like, what was the problem with long? What
so
did you
when
get?
you have long COVID, you just keep getting chest infections. So that was fun. I had about 8 chest infections in 6 months.
Was
As
it
you
that
know,
bad? Oh my!
yeah.
I don't remember that. Okay, I remember
Um,
you had a chest infection, but I didn't know it was 8 times.
yeah, I had it. To me, it felt like a non-stop chest infection for like 6 months. I couldn't stop coughing. I kept having temperatures and all the normal jazz that you have with chest infections. On antibiotics quite a lot, which then wipe you out even more. But I had some part of me was telling me that I had to keep going football, and then I think sometimes I made myself worse because I was so ill. And then you play football for 3 hours of training, say, and you got to drive back home, and then say regionals the day after or something. wasn't good. But
Yeah, it sounds like a difficult time to push through. But I think maybe football might have helped a little bit, but I think it's just too much at the end of the day. And I think you can understand then why you think about retiring, because it's just at that point, it's like, what's the point?
and the two regionals as well was a full 40 in every single game, on top of playing a full 40
So the
at
two
every single national.
regionals, where were you playing? It was what,
So one was
Birmingham?
Southeast,
Yeah.
and then one was West Mids.
So Southeast is where I used to play with Muscles. Obviously, you used to come there as well. I remember I was like, what are these lot doing? So
Yeah,
how are you going to two? That's overdoing it, I thought. But, it is what was chosen for you guys. Whoever was in charge picked it. So nothing you could do. You just got to get on with it, innit?
yep.
But speaking of competitiveness, right? Do you think college football is becoming a bit too competitive?
No,
So do you like that competitive aspect? Because a lot of
I'm a
people,
very competitive person, as you know.
yeah,
Um, I always try and be the best at everything. I know it's not possible to be the best at everything. I'm not
yeah,
delusional,
of course.
but if you, the second you lose that drive to be the best, it takes a massive toll on everything else.
So see, what do you think about the number of people that have retired in the last 5 years? It's been quite a lot. From my perspective, I'd say it depends on your condition, to be honest. Because if you're quite strong, you can still deal with the pressure and the fighting physical aspect is fine. But players like myself who just fall off a cliff with DMD, obviously you've played with quite a few DMD players,
Yeah,
and you're seeing it from them as well. Obviously, their levels have just dropped. So from that aspect, do you think it's too competitive, or do you think it needs to be like that? What's
I
your
think
opinion on it?
I think there's a fine line between. Obviously, I know you quite literally fell off a cliff. With
I,
how
I, I didn't literally drive off a cliff,
no,
but
yeah,
yeah.
you didn't literally fell off a cliff, but like, as in like your decline was quite quick. But I think a lot of the retirements we're seeing now are still the backlog from COVID.
Okay, what do you mean by that? That it's just
As in, I
caught
think
up?
a lot. I in COVID, everyone got weaker,
Yeah,
and I
definitely.
think with MD, DMD, whatever, that decline increased even more because we did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I think it's spot on because that's exactly what happened to me. It was after I was still fairly strong. I
Yeah,
was a middle player. I was strong. I was bullying people. After COVID, I was being bullied. Other people were turning on me. I was like, what's going on here?
I think.
So
Well, for me, I remember waking up at going to sleep at 5 in the morning every day in COVID.
is
And
that
I'd be awake
because
at like
why
10
is
and
that?
I'd sit here playing games all day.
So it's because the routine's just gone in it.
The routine was gone, there was nothing to do. So, yeah, 5 in the morning, go sleep.
It's
Sun's
like
up
when
and I was asleep.
it's like when I went to uni, man. Same thing. Just
Yeah.
it's crazy, man.
But yeah, I think because everyone struggled with that, I didn't help. But you say a lot of retirements. I know of two.
Yeah.
Is that
Well, it just feels like recently there's been a lot of people just bowing out. Obviously, I started playing from the beginning, so I've seen 20, 30 players retire. So from my perspective, it's a lot. But obviously, in recent years, yeah, you're right. It's not been that many. But when I think back, there's so many players in my condition, especially that just stopped. So the fine line is that it's difficult because each condition's slightly different, isn't it?
yeah, I think obviously you can disagree with me if you think. But I think the majority of conditions is covered from what it should be covered with. Obviously, there are still some debatable people that play power share football, but
Yeah, yeah.
as in, I mean, the people that can walk and all that jazz, which is a bit
So
questionable. But
what's your opinion on that then? Do you think they should be allowed to play or not?
I do think they need to get stricter with the classifications and have a more definitive line of what you can and can't do to be a whatever PF 1 or 2.
So just for people to understand, do you want to explain the classification? What's a
So
PF1? What's a PF2?
PF1 is someone who has very minimal movement, like me and you.
Yeah.
A PF2, obviously a lot more movement. 9 times out of 10, they're people with just like either they're really young with DMD, or
It's still quite strong at that age.
they've got SMA, whatever type it is. That's the stronger one. I'm not too sure. And all that.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think potentially, not sure if this would work, but this is just something I thought about, is potentially adding a third classification.
So
for
they have.
players, they have. Oh, do you want to what do you mean? Explain.
So for people with DMD who can still walk, there is now a PF2A.
Okay, so you just sort of added another layer to it.
Yeah.
Well, what I think is they should add like a PF3, and these are for people who are really weak. And in my opinion, to keep people like myself playing, they should introduce that where you need one PF3 in each team. That's what I think would keep people like me playing. Obviously, it might not be good for competitive level, but what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that would work? Be honest, if you think it's
I don't
crap,
think it
just
would, because then I think you'd have the same problem of you're not getting game time.
right. I see what you mean. What
So then
what
you'd be
if?
like, I'm driving around everywhere just to sit there on the bench.
Fair enough. So maybe the best thing is for people like me to retire because there's nowhere for us to go, unfortunately.
Regional league, you could definitely still play.
Okay.
But obviously, National League is turning so competitive that I think you could probably still keep up on certain games and all this, that, and the other. In the championships, definitely, if you're in air quotes, stronger team in the championships, playing again, in air quotes, a weaker team,
Yeah.
you might be able to get a few goals or, do something. Or do a few spins like you did on your last game.
Oh yeah, let's not do that, man. That was terrifying.
I think, to be honest, a lot of people have spoken about that moment, and a lot of us have said if we get to that, we are retiring.
Yeah, obviously that's exactly what I did. So if you're not aware, in my last final ever Premier League championship game, National League game, I went to hit the ball and I did a full spin, but my hand got stuck on the joystick. So I did, was it 6 or 7 extra spins? And the linesman thought I was just frustrated because I missed the shot. But actually, it was because my hand got stuck and I did 6 or 7 spins.
Honestly, as Dylan's friend, I've never laughed so much in my life.
I was just going to say, he was very supportive in that
moment. But I did feel that was quite a bad moment. I hope that never happens to me. But
well, it shouldn't do, because obviously with your condition, I don't think it will get that weak. I'm not sure it might. Who knows? But it shouldn't do. But if it does, good luck, man. It's fun.
Yeah, then it's curtains.
So you can understand why I was like, yeah, cool. Let's pack that in.
No, yeah, because I kept saying to you, I was like, "Nah, you're chilling. You're fine. You can keep playing." And then I saw that, and I was like, "Okay, yeah."
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, that would. Honestly, I think I'd have a heart attack if that happened to me.
And the thing is, that wasn't the first time it's happened. It's not happened in matches, but in training, it's happened 5-6 different times. Like that's when you know, all right, nah, it's time to pack it in. All right, so we've got one more question. Who is your favorite player to watch? And if you could take an aspect from their game that you could use, what would they be and why?
It's got to be Ed Common.
Interesting. Okay.
They call him the mastermind or something like that for a reason.
I think it's the something to do with the magician, I believe.
The magician. That's it, the magician. They call him that for a reason. Like his ability to just pick out a pass or a shot out of nothing is insane. I mean, that video you reacted to, he had Chris Gordon in his back pocket for the entire game.
And you don't often see players who can do that to Chris Gordon, right? It doesn't happen much.
Like, I've played against Ed multiple times, and his ability to just pick a pass, pick a shot out of, you would think it's going near post, it will go back post.
Yeah, I think
the man is very good at everything.
I think he's good at disguising his plans.
Yeah.
You have no idea what he's going to do. He shapes up to do one thing, does another thing.
And you know
So
they say the best players think about 7 steps ahead.
yeah, he's one of
Ed's
them.
about 20 steps ahead.
It's funny you say that because when I did the interview with Dan Kay, he also said that Ed Common is is his best player in the world, according to him. So it's interesting that you feel that he's also up there. That's great. And what
Yeah,
is it?
I'll give Ed credit, but I wouldn't say best in the world. But best in England, definitely.
So who's the best in the world in your opinion?
It's got to be Brian Weiss.
Brian Weiss. Okay, interesting. Not Momo Galami, no?
I think all round, Brian's better. Brian Weiss is better.
So what is it about his game that's better? Because Galami's incredible.
Galami is insane. He's one of probably the best dribbler in the world.
Yeah.
But I think Brian Weiss's his ability to just pick out a pass as well. Obviously, the two French, Momo and Brian Weiss, went to GBG's Geneva Cup.
Yeah, so you saw them
I saw
live, didn't
that.
you?
And Brian Weiss was just picking out passes for the fun of it.
So what was that event that you're referring to? Is that part of GBG?
So every year, GBG International run a Geneva Cup in Geneva.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Brian Dix always has a team called All Stars or
All
whatever,
Stars.
whatever name he decides to pick that year, it'll be that name.
Yeah.
And he had Brian Weiss and Momo Galami along with all the other big names that were in there, like Dylan Castle and
yeah, typical.
yeah. I don't think Dylan Castle was Dylan Castle.
I know Jacob Vickers went. I know that he was there. I think.
No,
I think he was he not?
Okay. The G5 event.
All right, he went to something else. Okay, cool. But they were there too as well. He played with Galami, so I know that much.
Oh, okay. Well, they were at the G5 event as well.
Okay,
but,
interesting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I watched the GBG run on the live streams and all that. And Momo and Brian were passing the ball between each other, doing those first and second pivots, just little flips to each other. And all of a sudden, you'll watch one of them just wrap the ball. And I think Brian's consistency on it was a lot better than.
Yeah, I think Momo's got more spectacular stuff in him where out of nothing he can pull something out. You're like, how did that happen? But it can happen spontaneously. Whereas Brian Weiss is a bit of a consistent player where he could just consistently pull out these passes. And like, he never seems to hit a bad pass. It's always on the money perfectly where players want it to be.
Yeah.
So interesting. And yeah, so if we just say Brian Weiss is the best in the world.
In the world, yeah.
So if you could take something from his game, what would it be?
It's just got to be his composure and his ability to pick out.
Yeah,
the consistency of the pass is insane. And the power, oh my god.
Yeah, it's one thing to talk about, and it's just the brute force, how much power he can get.
Yeah.
Like, accuracy is one thing, but being able to do it with power as well is the hardest thing to get right. Definitely. I mean, we spend hours in it in training.
We just spend hours. Yeah.
Just trying to hit the ball like he can, and you just never can.
Yeah.
All right, man. So that's all the questions we got. So if is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
No,
we're all good. All right, then. So thanks a lot for coming on the channel. He'll be back soon on a video. We were going to do live commentary together. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, so thanks a lot for coming on, man. And yeah, just another opportunity. If there's anything when you say, we'll be good.
No, thanks for having me. And it's been a good long journey so far. May it continue.
Yeah, hopefully you got a long time to go. Yeah, don't retire. Because when we spoke about it, I was like, what is this guy talking about? He's out of his mind. Don't know what I've retired. The level you're at compared to me, it's a different level. So I was like, there's no way he's going to retire.
I think a lot of people did say that. A few of them kind of understood where I was coming from.
Yeah.
My parents kind of left it up to me to decide.
I mean, they'll probably like, please stop so we can stop traveling.
Yeah, literally. But I think a lot of my friends definitely were like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I was one of them.
Yeah, a lot of them just said just move teams, but
Yeah.
I think it all worked out in the end. So
Yeah, man. So yeah, keep going, man. I'll be watching you. Obviously, you've got nationals in I think 2 weeks, right? 2 weekends.
sorry.
It's 3 or 2, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
I should be there hopefully on commentary, so I'll watch you. But yeah, man. So thanks so much for coming on.
All right, thanks for having me.
Alright, guys. So if you enjoyed that, make sure you like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But that's gonna be it anyway. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in a bit. And peace.